In the quiet of a suburban neighborhood, the morning sun rose over a peaceful home where something was terribly wrong. A wife, groggy from sleep, reached out to her husband, only to find his body cold and still. At first, it looked like a tragedy that no one could have predicted. No signs of a struggle. No cries for help. Just a man who went to bed, and never woke up. The coroner initially labeled it natural causes. His heart had simply given out, they said. But then, something didn't add up. A single detail in the autopsy report, a trace chemical not usually found in the body, raised one chilling question. What if he didn't die in his sleep, but was sent there? David and Emily had what most would call a picture-perfect marriage. They lived in a quiet cul-de-sac, had 2 kids in college, and regularly posted smiling selfies from family cookouts and anniversary getaways. David was a well-respected math teacher at the local high school, the kind of man who fixed neighbors' fences and coached Little League without ever missing a game. Emily, a part-time librarian, was known for her soft voice and endless kindness. They'd been married for over 20 years. No rumors, no scandals, no red flags. So when David passed away in his sleep one cold October night, most people saw it as a tragic, peaceful end to a life well lived. But Emily couldn't shake one thing: his sudden exhaustion the night before. He had been perfectly fine during dinner, laughing, chatting, sipping red wine, but just an hour later, he looked pale, sweating, and quiet. She brushed it off until the paramedics arrived, checked his vitals, and left the house unusually quickly. Later, at the funeral, David's brother whispered to her, "I just don't get it. He had a checkup 2 weeks ago. Perfect health." That was the first time Emily's mind began to drift from grief to suspicion. Hadn't thrown away his things. His toothbrush sat untouched on the bathroom sink. His jacket still hung on the hallway hook. She found herself talking to him in the quiet moments, asking questions no one could answer. But one rainy afternoon, while sorting through his sock drawer, a place she had no reason to explore, she stumbled upon something that stopped her cold. Tucked beneath old receipts and cufflinks was a sealed white envelope. No stamp, no name, just a single sticky note on top in David's handwriting. "If something ever happens to me, give this to Dr. Fields." Emily's heart nearly stopped. Who was Dr. Fields? Why would David hide something like this? She sat on the edge of the bed, her hands trembling, weighing whether to open it herself. Inside was a single typed page, and what it said was enough to make her feel like she didn't know the man she had slept next to for over 2 decades. "I've been feeling off. Not sick, just wrong. Dizzy spells, stomach pains, fatigue. I thought it was stress, but now I'm not so sure. If this gets worse, and I don't wake up, don't assume it was natural. Something's not right. Please find out." Emily's breath caught in her throat. This wasn't a man preparing for a peaceful death. This was a man afraid. And suddenly, everything that felt like grief turned into something else. A cold question clawing its way to the front of her mind. Had someone helped David die? Emily couldn't sleep that night. She read David's letter over and over, looking for something she might have missed. She needed to find this drive. Fields. The next morning, she went through David's contacts, hospital bills, insurance documents, anything that might mention the name. Nothing. It wasn't until she dug through old business cards in his office that she found it. Dr. Miriam Fields, toxicology consultant. That word hit her like a punch. Toxicology. Why would David, a man with no history of substance abuse, no known health conditions, need a toxicology consultant? Emily called the number on the card. A calm, older voice answered. "Yes, this is Dr. Fields." Emily explained who she was, and before she even finished her sentence, "Drive." Fields cut her off. "You're David's wife, aren't you?" There was a pause. "I've been expecting this call," the doctor said softly. And what she told Emily next would change everything. 2 months before David died, he'd visited her after a strange illness: nausea, dizziness, numbness in his fingers. He'd run basic tests through his primary doctor, but nothing showed up. Yet the symptoms kept getting worse. Dr. Fields ran her own tests, and what she found suggested possible poisoning. But he refused to go to the police, she said. He said if he was wrong, it could ruin someone's life. Emily's mind was spinning. Poisoning. This wasn't just paranoia anymore. It was a possible crime. And the deeper she looked, the stranger things got. David's life insurance had recently been increased tripled, in fact just 4 months before he died. The beneficiary, not Emily, but someone she had never heard of. A woman named Vanessa Moore. Emily had never seen the name, never met her, never even heard David mention her. But now, that name would become the center of a mystery no one was prepared for. Because the more Emily uncovered, the more it looked like her husband may not have died peacefully in his sleep. He may have been murdered. Emily sat on the edge of her bed, the name Vanessa Moore echoing in her mind like a siren. Who was she? Why would David leave everything to her? She opened David's laptop, a device she hadn't dared to touch since his passing. It still had his login, still had his browser history, still had his emails. She searched the name, nothing obvious. Then, in a folder labeled Personal Files, she found something. A series of email exchanges, sent to an address not connected to David's usual accounts. The subject line on many of them, Vanessa. The first one read, "I can't keep lying anymore. She deserves the truth." The next, "The tests came back again. If it's not the medication, then it has to be something else." And another, "I'm scared she'll find out everything. I'm scared of what you might do." Emily's stomach dropped. It became clear these weren't just messages to a stranger. Vanessa wasn't just someone David knew. She was involved, somehow. Emily turned to social media, searched the name, cross-referenced photos. Eventually she found her. A woman, early 40s, blonde, stylish, lived only one town over. But what struck Emily the most? In one of Vanessa's tagged photos, she stood beside a man, arm around his shoulders, laughing, smiling. That man was David, in a photo dated only 6 months before his death. Emily's heart pounded. This wasn't just an affair. This was a double life. David had a whole relationship outside their marriage. Possibly another home. Possibly a second identity. But if that was the case, why was he writing letters to Emily begging her to keep digging? Why had he seen a toxicologist? Why had he written, "If anything happens to me, look deeper"? Unless he had discovered something darker. Emily wasn't just dealing with betrayal anymore. She was unraveling a web of secrets that now included deception, money, and a mysterious woman who inherited everything the moment her husband was gone. But none of it made sense yet. And then, Emily found the last piece in David's private documents. A single receipt, from a local pharmacy, for a prescription he never told her about. And on it, the name Vanessa Moore. Whatever was happening, Vanessa wasn't just David's mistress. She might have been the last person to see him alive. The drive to Vanessa Moore's house was only 30 minutes. But to Emily, it felt like hours. She didn't tell anyone where she was going. Didn't even fully know what she would say when she got there. All she knew was if David had trusted her to keep digging, then this was her next step. She parked down the block. It was a neat brick house with white shutters, a manicured lawn, wind chimes on the porch. The kind of place where you'd expect a mother of two to serve lemonade on a Sunday. But the air around it felt different. Heavy. Emily sat in the car a moment longer, heart racing. Then she walked up and rang the bell. A pause. Then footsteps. And there she was. Vanessa Moore. Shorter than Emily expected, but poised, calm. Her eyes narrowed the moment she saw her. "Can I help you?" Emily took a breath. This was it. "I'm Emily, David's wife." The change in Vanessa's face was instant. Not surprise, not guilt, just a flicker of recognition. And then she stepped aside. "Come in." Inside was cozy. Too cozy. Photos of Vanessa and David scattered in frames. A toothbrush beside the sink. Shoes that weren't hers near the door. It was true. He lived a second life here. With her. Emily could barely speak. But Vanessa did. "I told him this would happen. That secrets like his never stay buried. He was going to tell you, but he ran out of time." Emily's voice cracked. "He died in our home. He collapsed in front of me. He left a note. Said to look deeper." Vanessa blinked, a chill passing over her expression. "Then you should know the truth," she said. "David had cancer. Rare. He didn't want treatment. He didn't want anyone to know. Not even you." Emily shook her head. "No. That's not what his toxicology showed. That's not what the autopsy said. You're lying." Silence. Then Vanessa's tone hardened. "Be very careful. Emily. There are things you don't understand. Things David did. Things he was involved in. She leaned closer. He was protecting you. Emily stared, stunned. Protecting me from what? Vanessa gave a faint smile. One that sent a chill down Emily's spine. From the same people who wanted him gone. Emily stood, her knees weak. You're not telling me everything. Vanessa tilted her head. I've told you enough. Emily left the house shaken to her core. Nothing about this felt like closure. This wasn't just about lies or affairs. David had been scared, hiding something. And maybe Vanessa was too. Back home, Emily sat in her living room, surrounded by old photos of David. But now, every smile, every embrace, felt different. Who was he, really? She opened his laptop again. She had searched through it before. But this time, she went deeper. Into the archives. Into the files he didn't label clearly. Into the encrypted folder he thought she'd never find. It took hours. But she cracked the password. Solstice. The name of their honeymoon cabin. Inside the folder, a single video. And a string of documents. Bank statements. Travel logs. Emails from names she didn't recognize. The video began with David's face. Tired, pale, but calm. If you're watching this, I guess the time came sooner than I hoped. There are things I never told you. Things I regret. He went on to confess that years before they met, he had been involved in a corporate cover-up. A research facility in South America, where environmental testing was rigged, and people were harmed. He was a whistleblower. He had testified in secret. And entered a private protection program, under an alias. The life he lived with Emily wasn't just his second chance. It was his hiding place. Vanessa wasn't a mistress, he said quietly. She was my handler, my contact. She kept me safe when things got bad. And now I think someone found me. Emily felt her breath leave her chest. This wasn't about cheating. This was so much bigger. David wasn't just living a lie. He was running for his life. And now that he was gone, was she in danger too? The final thing he said before the video ended. If they come looking, don't try to be a hero. Just go. Leave everything. I love you. Click. Silence. Emily stared at the screen, heart pounding. A chill passed through her body. Suddenly, a knock at the door. Slow. Deliberate. 3 times. She didn't move. Another knock. And with it the echo of David's warning in her mind. Don't try to be a hero. Emily crept toward the door. Each step was slow, calculated, her body tense like a wire stretched too tight. She looked through the peephole. Nothing. No one. Her breath caught. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. We need to talk. You're not safe. Check the mailbox. A chill gripped her spine. She hesitated, but then cracked open the door. No one on the street. The night was eerily still. Just crickets and the distant hum of a street lamp. She stepped outside and approached the mailbox. Inside wasn't just a letter. It was a flash drive, wrapped in black tape, with a note. Finish what David started. They'll come for you now. Back inside, she plugged it in, hands shaking. The drive contained classified documents, old video footage from inside the facility David had spoken of. Images of chemical spills, unreported illnesses, interviews with villagers, and a list of names. One name stood out. A high-ranking executive, now a public figure, with political power and media control. Emily realized, David didn't die from a heart condition. He didn't just collapse and fade away. He was silenced. And now, with this drive, Emily held the last piece of evidence, the truth he died protecting. But exposing it, that would put a target on her back. She sat frozen at her desk, torn between fear and justice. Then came a sound from the hallway. A creak. Her eyes widened. She wasn't alone in the house.